screen opens with a view of the Manhattan skyline shimmering under the bluish dawn light. The noise of the city is faintly heard in the distance, giving a unique harmony that signals that we have arrived. New York is not just a background, it is a silent witness of a new chapter of our lives that has just begun. Before we start, make sure you're ready to love this moments. Welcome to Taekook Velvet. The first step on this concrete pavement feels different, as if every inch of the road carries the burden of history and the promise of the future. The cold morning air greets the skin, but there is an indescribable warmth when our fingers are intertwined behind the pockets of the coat. Here, among the skyscrapers trying to touch the clouds, we realize how small we are, but how big the love we bring. The sunlight began to reflect on the windows of the Midtown building, creating a dramatic stage of light for this trip. We walk without haste, letting the current of the city take us through the iconic intersection. Every sound of the yellow taxi horn feels like background music for an adventure that we have dreamed of for a long time. Times Square greets us with an explosion of color and energy that almost feels real at the fingertips. In the midst of the hustle and bustle of thousands of souls passing by, the world seems to slow down just for the two of us. Under the magnificent billboard, we do not feel strange, we feel alive, as if all this light is indeed lit to celebrate our first days as one. We turn to the tranquility of Central Park, green lawns that give a break to our breath that is hunting for joy. Falling leaves or blooming flowers, depending on the season, become a natural carpet for our footsteps. At the Bow Bridge, we stopped for a moment, looking at our reflection on the calm surface of the water, realizing that the promise we set a few days ago is now starting to take root. New York is about contrast, and this honeymoon is a reflection between splendor and simple intimacy. We sip hot coffee in a small cafe in the corner of West Village, where the smell of roasted coffee beans mixes with the smell of old books. There are no words that need to be said, the gaze behind the steam of coffee has already explained everything about this gratitude. Towards noon, we cross the Brooklyn Bridge, a steel masterpiece that connects two different worlds. The strong wind from the East River tried to ruffle the hair, but it failed to disturb the comfort in this embrace. From here, the Statue of Liberty can be seen in the distance, a symbol of freedom that today we interpret as the freedom to love without limits. Dumbo welcomes us with an elegant industrial aesthetic, giving a new perspective to the splendor of the Empire State Building. We take photos that may fade decades from now, but the feeling in it will still be sharp. New York gives us space to be anyone, but today, we choose to be the luckiest couple. Lunch at a rooftop restaurant gives us a new perspective on how vast this world is for us to explore together. Up there, the noise of the street turned into a soothing soft murmur. We toast with a glass of cold drink, not only for this trip, but for every challenge and laughter that we will face in the years to come. The afternoon takes us to the Grand Central Terminal, where thousands of meetings and farewells happen every second. Under the constellation-decorated ceiling, we stand still, appreciating the fact that in the midst of the chaos of the world, we have found a home within each other. This classic architecture reminds us that strong love is built on a solid foundation and eternal beauty. Our footsteps then lead us to Fifth Avenue, where dreams and reality intersect behind the luxurious shop window. However, the real luxury does not lie in what is displayed there, but in the presence of someone by our side. We realize that the best gift in this honeymoon is not goods, but the time we devote fully to get to know each other's souls more deeply. As dusk begins to fall, the New York sky turns into a stunning purple and orange color palette. We sat on a bench by the river in the High Line Park, watching the city that started to turn on the lights one by one. This transition from day to night is a reminder that every phase of life has its own beauty, as long as we go through it together. A romantic dinner at a hidden restaurant with dim candlelight became the highlight of this long day. This intimate atmosphere allows us to talk about big dreams that we want to wake up after returning from here. New York has inspired us to think big, but still appreciate the small details that make life worthwhile. We walked back to the hotel, passing through the cobbled streets that still keep the remains of past history. The street lights give a long and artistic shadow on the sidewalk. At this moment, we feel that this city is no longer a strange place, but part of our most sacred personal memory. Returning to the room with a view of the large window that shows the twinkling of the city is the perfect ending. We stood there for a moment, looking at the concrete forest that never sleeps, feeling peaceful in the midst of extraordinary dynamics. New York has given us its energy, a spirited ammunition to start a new life. The next morning, the smell of fresh bagels and clean morning air greeted us with new hope. The screen opens with a view of the Manhattan skyline shimmering under the bluish dawn light. The noise of the city is faintly heard in the distance, giving a unique harmony that signals that we have arrived. New York is not just a background, it is a silent witness of a new chapter of our lives that has just begun. Before we start, make sure you ready to love this moments. Welcome to Taekook Velvet. The first step on this concrete pavement feels different, as if every inch of the road carries the burden of history and the promise of the future. The cold morning air greets the skin, but there is an indescribable warmth when our fingers are intertwined behind the pockets of the coat. Here, among the skyscrapers trying to touch the clouds, we realize how small we are, but how big the love we bring. The sunlight began to reflect on the windows of the Midtown building, creating a dramatic stage of light for this trip. We walk without haste, letting the current of the city take us through the iconic intersection. Every sound of the yellow taxi horn feels like background music for an adventure that we have dreamed of for a long time. Times Square greets us with an explosion of color and energy that almost feels real at the fingertips. In the midst of the hustle and bustle of thousands of souls passing by, the world seems to slow down just for the two of us. Under the magnificent billboard, we do not feel strange, we feel alive, as if all this light is indeed lit to celebrate our first days as one. We turn to the tranquility of Central Park, green lungs that give a break to our breath that is hunting for joy. Falling leaves or blooming flowers, depending on the season, become a natural carpet for our footsteps. At the Bow Bridge, we stopped for a moment, looking at our reflection on the calm surface of the water, realizing that the promise we set a few days ago is now starting to take root. New York is about contrast, and this honeymoon is a reflection between splendor and simple intimacy. We sip hot coffee in a small cafe in the corner of West Village, where the smell of roasted coffee beans mixes with the smell of old books. There are no words that need to be said, the gaze behind the steam of coffee has already explained everything about this gratitude. Towards noon, we cross the Brooklyn Bridge, a steel masterpiece that connects two different worlds. The strong wind from the East River tried to ruffle the hair, but it failed to disturb the comfort in this embrace. From here, the Statue of Liberty can be seen in the distance, a symbol of freedom that today we interpret as the freedom to love without limits. Dumbo welcomes us with an elegant industrial aesthetic, giving a new perspective to the splendor of the Empire State Building. We take photos that may fade decades from now, but the feeling in it will still be sharp. New York gives us space to be anyone, but today, we choose to be the luckiest couple. Lunch at a rooftop restaurant gives us a new perspective on how vast this world is for us to explore together. Up there, the noise of the street turned into a soothing soft murmur. We toast with a glass of cold drink, not only for this trip, but for every challenge and laughter that we will face in the years to come. The afternoon takes us to the Grand Central Terminal, where thousands of meetings and farewells happen every second. Under the constellation-decorated ceiling, we stand still, appreciating the fact that in the midst of the chaos of the world, we have found a home within each other. This classic architecture reminds us that strong love is built on a solid foundation and eternal beauty. The room with a view of the large window that shows the twinkling of the city is the perfect ending. We stood there for a moment, looking at the concrete forest that never sleeps, feeling peaceful in the midst of extraordinary dynamics. New York has given us its energy, a spirited ammunition to start a new life. The next morning, the smell of fresh bagels and clean morning air greeted us with new hope.